Welcome to the Behind the Goals podcast, the podcast about fans, for fans, and by fans. Please welcome your hosts, Andrew Jenkin and Alan Russell.
Hello and welcome to episode 29 of Behind the Goals. This week we've got something of a curveball.
Yeah, literally a curveball. One of the most entertaining podcasts we've done yet. We just recorded it and the grin's not quite left my face yet. Just really, really good fun, lovely chat with a bit of an innovator.
Yeah, very much so. This week we are speaking to a gentleman by the name of Jesse Cole, owner of the Savannah Bananas, a eighth or ninth tier baseball team in Georgia, America, and just a completely unique and innovative way of going and running and managing a sports club.
Yeah, if you've ever heard of Savannah Bananas or ever seen anything they've done online, you'll recognise the guy with the yellow tux. The owner who jumps about, runs around in the stadium. Gets in the dunk tank and is fully a part of the match day experience, or the evening experience. I guess they're evening games, aren't they? Baseball.
Sometimes in the day.
Yeah, but a full part of it, and an entertainer, an innovator, and he's actually turned. He's not turned the team round because they were a brand new team to start with, but they've entertained and had real success on the field of play.
Yeah,
well.
Just by complete sort of undertaking a really unique approach and perspective on what it is to be a sports fan, which is actually not about the sport, which is a bit controversial, but as he highlights, it's an entertainment business, not a sports business. So if you can get people to come along and be entertained, and actually what I really like about what he was saying there was is something I've often thought is, if you were managing a football club, what can you actually control? Well, you've hired your manager to manage the team, but you can control everything else around that, from when the fan arrives or even when they're going to the game. So what are the elements you can control? And that's almost what Jesse was saying. They said the team might lose 9-0, but if they've had a good time and you've controlled all the other parts and they walk away and they've done something that you can control and you can have an influence on, then you've done a good job.
Yeah.
So hopefully you'll enjoy this podcast as much as we enjoyed doing it.
Yeah. So have a listen and we'll speak to you again at the end.
So, Jesse, thanks so much for joining us on Behind the Goals. A real pleasure to have you here.
Pumped to be here with you guys.
I want to first ask you a little bit about yourself and your background. And the first time I came across you on Twitter, your Twitter profile picture is very distinctive because you're wearing a bright yellow tux. And you've got a book called Find Your Yellow Tux. So perhaps you could the first thing I instantly thought, I was saying to Alan, is you kind of remind me of like Willy Wonka of baseball, the Willy Wonka of baseball.
But I'll take that as a compliment.
Oh, please do.
If I could be the Willy Wonka of this baseball and entertainment and circus sports world that we're trying to create, I'd love it. But I do own a yellow tuxedo. I actually own 7 of those yellow tuxedos. Wow. And it's crazy. I wear it every day. And my whole thing is just about standing out, being different. And really, I own sports teams, baseball teams, and we've made it an absolute circus at our ballpark. Our players do choreographed dances during the games. We literally have a break-dancing first base coach. People sing. They get pie during games. We have a 30-piece pep band that plays during baseball games, which is not normal. We've given away porta-johns, colon cleansings. We've done the craziest things at our ballparks. But it's all about making it a fun environment and atmosphere. And we've learned a lot along the ways, but right now, we've sold out every single game, and now for 2 straight seasons, and it's been an absolute wild ride. So, I believe every company, every sports team, every business can find ways to stand out and be different, and that's what Find Your Yellow Tux is all about. Believe me, I'm not telling you guys should wear a yellow tuxedo. You might stand out a little too much in Scotland, but it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself, because you only got into owning sports teams through, you were first a general manager, is that right?
Yeah, I started back right out of college. I got a job as a general manager of the worst performing sports team in the country. I mean, they were terrible. It was 200 fans coming to the games. The team was losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they couldn't win games. Nobody cared about them. And I started at it at 23 years old and realized that we couldn't be just about baseball. We had to be about entertainment. And that's when we started having grandma beauty pageants at the ballparks and burying diamond rings in the infield dirt. I got in the dunk tank every night and really realized, hey, you got to make it about a show and make it about fun. And that was, now 11 years ago. And since that point, we've really taken it to another level. And I ended up buying that team in Gastonia, North Carolina in 2014, built it up to sell out numerous games. And we just actually recently sold it to now focus 100% on our team in Savannah, Georgia, which, as I mentioned, has now sold out every single game. And we have a wait list in the thousands for tickets because we're just trying to change the game of baseball and make it more entertaining and make it more fun.
How did you get that job straight out of college? What was it that? How did you pitch yourself, and what were they looking for in you to give you that job at 23 years of age?
They were crazy. Let's put it that way. What were they thinking? No, I played baseball in college, tore my shoulder. That ended my career. And so I got an email about an internship with a team in Spartanburg, South Carolina, a tiny, small town in the South. And I took that internship, and I was very fortunate to be really successful with sales. I started selling sponsorships and tickets, and after 2 months, I sold more than the general manager of that team, the director of sales, and the owner said, let's give this guy a shot with the other team in Gastonia, North Carolina. So it was really my ability to sell and convince people to come out to a ballpark and a team that wasn't successful that I was given that job.
And is that where you kind of made because I've read somewhere you've said you're not in the sports industry, you're actually in the entertainment industry, which is something I don't think a lot of people that work in sports industry have really kind of grasped, probably ourselves included. But that's that's a really interesting thing to make that distinction. So how did that change your approach to everything?
Well, you want to, if everyone's playing the same game about wins and losses, then you can't stand out. And I realized what game I wanted to play, a game that I could potentially win. If your team, you guys know this, if your team is terrible, people aren't going to have a great time at the games. Well, I couldn't control necessarily how the team's going to be, and every year is different. Sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. But you can control the show and the entertainment. So I knew that by having nonstop promotions and dancing and giveaways and just fun at the ballpark, that even if the team lost 11-0, people could say, I enjoyed the show. And now that's the only language we use at our ballparks. It's not, did you enjoy the game? Did you enjoy the show? So, and I believe every single business is in the entertainment business. No matter what you do, whether you're a restaurant, whether you're just a regular business, people want to be entertained. They don't want to just come in and buy a product. They want to have a good experience. So, that's how we look at it. When people come to our ballpark, it's showtime. And that's why literally we have nonstop promotions as soon as they come in. I mean, they're greeted by the players. This is something I don't know how many sports teams do, but literally our players are out at the gate greeting the fans, signing autographs, handing out programs. Our players hand out roses to little girls in the crowd during the games. They did a conga line through the stadium the other game with 500 people joining on. We put our players into the show because that's part of the experience. And I think it'd be a pretty fun time to come out and see the players actually having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So from what inspired you to take the plunge and actually go for? You bought the first team you were working for, is that right? And then you just recently set up the Savannah Bananas. How did that all happen? How did that kind of come about?
Yeah, everyone asks, how do you go and buy these teams? And I go, you go from zero debt to over $1 million of debt. So literally, I took on hundreds of thousands of dollars, then even over $1 million in debt and buying the team. So I believed in it. It was a point where I was running it. I was like, you know what? Let's take the plunge. Let's go all in. And so my wife and I made the decision. And like I said, we took on a ton of debt, but we knew we had something special. And, we try to see what can you be the best in the world at. And we, as crazy as that sounds here, just in Savannah, Georgia, and previously in Gastonia, North Carolina, we believe we can provide the best fan experience in the world. And so we said, might as well own it. Might as well go all in. Sometimes put your money where your mouth is if you're going to do it. And that's what we did. And I'll tell you what we've learned over the last few years. We've learned more than we've ever imagined when you buy a team, and the struggles and the challenges. And but it's been the most rewarding thing of my life.
Yeah. So the Savannah Bananas. They were formed just a couple of years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a crazy story here. So there was professional baseball, and let me just give the listeners an idea. There's in baseball, there's levels. There's the major league level. Then there's the level underneath it, AAA, which is still professional. Then there's AA. Then there's full season A. Then there's short season A. Then there's rookie ball. Then there's independent professional baseball. Then there's top-level college baseball. And then there's us at the bottom there, college summer baseball. And so people can understand that's how crazy it is with what's happening at our stadium with every game sold out. There was professional baseball in Savannah, Georgia for 90 years. Now, this was single-A baseball, affiliates of the major league teams. And they didn't have any success. They weren't drawing crowds, and they said they needed a brand new stadium to be able to stay in Savannah. Well, the city said we can't afford a brand new stadium, so they left. So professional baseball did not succeed in Savannah. They left, and then us, as crazy college summer baseball, the lowest level, came in, and it sounds like, oh, great, you guys have sold out every game. Well, not in the beginning. When we first came in, our first 2 months, we sold one ticket. One ticket in 2 months. It was painful. It literally got so bad that 5 months into it, I got a phone call from one of our employees, and we had overdrafted our account, and we were completely out of money. And that was January of 2016. And at that point, my wife and I looked at ourselves and said, we got no other options. We sold our house, we emptied out our savings account, and we went all in, started sleeping on an air bed and trying to make ends meet. And then we became the Savannah Bananas, and we found a way to create attention and get everyone to realize that, hey, we're different than everyone else.
Yeah, so tell us how you came up with the name Savannah Bananas.
So, one big thing is, we involved the entire community and had numerous suggestions, 1,000 different suggestions, and generic names like the Seagulls and the Ports and the Anchors, just boring generic names. But one woman suggested Bananas. And she said, you asked for a very unique, different name. So she suggested it. And then we looked at ourselves and we were like, go Bananas. We could have a mascot named Split. We could have a senior citizen dance team called the Banana Nanas. We started thinking about all the things we could do. And we said, this is going to be crazy. Let's do it. And on February 25th, 2016, we announced that name. And nationally, everyone was talking about it. It was #1 trending on Twitter. It was huge. But locally, we got crucified. Literally, we started getting reached out. You guys should be thrown out of this town. You're an embarrassment to this city. The owner doesn't belong. He needs to be out of here. You'll never sell a ticket. But what happened was, even though they were ripping us apart, everybody was talking about us. And that's all we needed was a little bit of attention. And once we got that, people started realizing, wow, these guys are fun. They are going to do things different and unique. And that's when everything turned around.
So what kind of attendances are we talking, just to kind of set the scene?
So the stadium only has 4,000 seats, but we are over capacity every single night. So literally right now we've got tons of games left, and you can't buy a ticket. So there's scalpers outside of our games. There's a wait list in the thousands for tickets for next year. So every single night we're in that 42 to 4,300, no matter what. And it's an old 1926 stadium, but I'll tell you, it's the loudest ballpark I've ever been into.
So what's the secret then? What kind of things? I read you've got a fans first approach. Perhaps you could tell us what that actually entails in practice.
Yeah, what's the best experience for a fan? And we look at everything as fans. If you're a business, don't just look at it as customers. Don't just look at it as your employees. Look at everyone as a fan. And you guys know this as much as anything. If you're a fan, you are passionate about the team. You're behind. You wear the merchandise. You're talking to everybody you know about it. Why don't we build that type of mentality for everyone and create raving fans? So, we go all out. And, we've had zero turnover in employees since we've started, which is, really rare these days. And our fans, literally every single person who buys a ticket from us, they get an email that says, congrats, you just made the best decision of your day. Right now, as you bought your tickets, we grabbed them, we ran them out into the stadium, we hoisted them up in the air, we did Gatorade showers celebrating, and now your tickets are in our vault in maximum security, ready for you to go bananas. And then after that, they get an immediate call from one of our employees just thanking them. Most people are like, did my credit card not work? And we're like, no, we just want to call and thank you. That happens before they even experience our product, because we're trying to think, what is that perfect experience? As they show up, the first thing they'll see is penguins. Not real penguins, because those wouldn't survive here in Savannah, Georgia, but people dressed up in penguin costumes. There are parking penguins. Because if you're going to get parked, you might as well be dressed up like a crazy character in a penguin, I thought. So then as you pass that, you'll see our players in full uniform, as I mentioned, passing out programs. Then you'll see our 30-piece pep band playing the Rocky theme music and Uptown Funk as you're coming into the stadium. And then you'll have people dressed up in banana costumes ripping your tickets that are shaped like bananas and that are also scratch and sniff and smell like bananas. That's before you've even come into our ballpark. So, you try to map out every single detail of the experience. And once they come in the ballpark, we go out, we have a 3-page script of different promotions, from dances to songs to people, the whole crowd singing, to literally people getting pied on the field. Every single half inning is part of the show. And then when they leave, we have our entire staff at the gate, including our players, thanking the fans, and our pep band is playing music. People don't want to leave. They're singing and dancing, at 10:30 at night, and the game's been over for an hour. And I think that goes into how we try to design this perfect fan experience.
Have other teams in your league spotted what you're? They obviously will have spotted what you're doing, but are they starting to follow the same path?
I wish. They think we're crazy.
Really? Even despite the sellouts?
Nothing wrong. They're focusing on the baseball.
Yeah.
They focus on getting, better players, trying to focus on the baseball and win games. But here's the crazy thing. When you focus on the atmosphere and the experience, the baseball takes care of itself. The first year we won the championship. The second year we had the best record in the league. Right now we have the best record in the league in our third year. Because the players are having more fun than they've ever played, playing in front of 4,000 loud fans that love them to death. Yeah. So I believe you focus on the experience and the atmosphere first, and everything else takes care of itself.
Well, I won't lie. When I was doing the research, Alan and I have been talking about doing some of these podcasts out on the road. It'd be a bit harder to get to Savannah, but when I heard about the all-you-can-eat tickets, I won't lie, I think we were quite tempted. So this is basically you buy your ticket, and it comes with like a token or something that you can just hand into the food desks, and you can eat as much as you want for the whole evening.
No, it actually gives you a wristband, and as soon as you show up at 5:30, you could leave at 10:30, and you can have all the hot dogs, the burgers, the chicken sandwiches, the soda, the drinks, the popcorn, the cookies, as much as you want until the game's over, and until you leave, actually. And again, that goes into what's the perfect experience for a fan. You guys tell me, when you go to a sporting event, don't you get nickel and dime? You got to buy a drink, a hot dog, a burger, and it ends up being expensive sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. My bugbear is when they run out of pies before half-time. It's bizarre. Bizarre. We weren't expecting any fans to turn up, so we didn't get any pies.
It's brutal. So we try to include everything. And do we go through 10,000 pieces of meat in about an hour and a half when we first opened? Wow. You better believe it. Our concession staff works harder than I've ever seen a group. But for the fans, think about, you have kids. Hey, you want a drink? Just go get it. You don't need money. Just go get a drink. Yeah. Go get a cookie. Go get a hot dog. It's just part of our whole model.
That's absolutely fascinating. And so how much is one of those tickets?
$15.
Wow.
$15? Just for the food you'd go there.
Yeah.
That $15 includes everything, the ticket and all the food.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're certainly going to have to line up a trip to Savannah, aren't we?
So whenever you guys are ready, we'll take care of you.
Oh, lovely. Okay. Put us down for next year.
Yeah, it's got a Sky Scanner right now.
So a couple of other things I wanted to ask you about the Bananas. So the what kind of, there's pretty much something on every single day you go there in terms of activities and events. Perhaps you could just walk us through some of the things you've had in the past.
Yeah, we hired a full-time director of fun. And that's his actual title, is Director of Fun. So every day he's got to be working on his title and delivering what he's supposed to be doing. And like I said, we have a 3-page script. So, we have, before the game, we'll have a special home run hitter where the kid gets to run the bases and the team lifts him up. We have the entire stadium singing Justin Timberlake's Can't Stop the Feeling song. We're throwing out giant, 6 feet balls in the crowd, and the players are all on the dugouts chanting. Then they literally have the pep band getting the whole stadium greeted, get them standing up and going loud for a college summer baseball game, which is just, imagine 4,000 people screaming for a college summer baseball game. It's just wild. And, there's literally different promotions every night. Our breakdancing first base coach, who literally coaches first base and will do the Thriller dance into the MC Hammer dance into the new dances. He has a new routine every single night of different dances that he's doing. Same thing with our senior citizen dance team called the Banana Bananas. So, we don't really set up huge theme nights. We just make sure every night is different. Every night is a show. And we tell our fans to expect the unexpected because you never know what will happen.
Yeah, that's Really interesting. The other thing I want to touch upon is the videos. I had a look on your YouTube channel earlier today, and we were admiring the Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys, yeah.
How do you recruit students that are happy enough to partake in? Do they love it as much as you do?
Not at first. At first, they're like, "What have we got ourselves into?"
Yeah.
But
Came here to play baseball and this.
Yeah, they think they're crazy, but once they see, on Facebook and on Twitter that it gets 100,000 views and everyone's talking about it, they're all in. But yeah, they came up with that idea that Backstreet Boys, which it was the Bananas are back. All right, they actually came up with the idea. Let's all get in the shower and start pouring water all over ourselves and do the same. Like, you guys are crazy, but we're all in on that. And so they come up with a lot of the ideas. But again, it's just what's fun. Keep it simple. We make baseball fun, so the players should be doing fun videos. And we had a Titanic rendition. We've done a lot of music videos. We copy famous movie scenes and make them our own. That's just part of who we are. But the players at first, they're very weary of it until they see how popular they become. Then they want in.
And you've won several awards in the last couple of years as well, haven't you? So I've read here, Organisation of the Year, you yourself, Entrepreneur of the Year, Business of the Year, and 3 CPL championships, although I couldn't work out what CPL actually meant.
That's the league. That's the Coastal Plain League. Yes, yeah. Well, we've been fortunate. We've been honored with a lot of awards, and that's just something that we can celebrate internally. We make sure with our staff that they understand how special it is that we're doing. So it's been great. That's always a nice thing when you can be honored.
Yeah, of course, absolutely, the recognition, I'm sure. And have you ever done any kind of research because obviously everything you sound like you're doing is brilliant, but it sounds like it costs money to invest into that experience, which is paying off. But have you ever done any research to look at that kind of the benefits you're getting compared to the costs?
Yeah, we don't research. I think this is, talk about this in my book, Find Your Yellow Tux. We don't necessarily learn from other sports teams. We learn from other industries. Get out of your own bubble. We learn from the cruise industry. We learn from like Cirque du Soleil. We learn from groups like Blue Man Group. We learn from Disney. So we get out of the actual sports and do a lot of research on what things they're doing to create great experiences. But being very open, we learn the most by doing. I believe in the concept, do and then learn. You guys may appreciate this, but our big premise of everything that we do is whatever's normal, do the exact opposite. So if people are doing something the same way, we do the exact opposite. And a great example was last year when we said, hey, we're going to host a beer festival at our stadium, where everyone gets, unlimited samples. They get to try tons of different beers. But most beer festivals are held at night. We're going to hold a beer festival at 9 in the morning, and we're going to call it Tap of the Morning Beer Fest. And because you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning. That was our slogan. And so we tried it. So we started at 9 a.m. We promoted the heck out of it, and no one was buying tickets. We were scared. We're like, all right, well, this was a failure. So we got creative. We're like, all right, what if we offer everyone free brunch, free eggs and all donuts and everything? So we promoted. We said the first couple hundred people get a free brunch as well, free breakfast. And so all of a sudden, at 8:30 in the morning, the line started forming. And it was one of my proudest moments when I saw 250 people at line to start drinking at 9 in the morning. So we learned from it. We did it. And this next year we hold over 1,000 people. So you can never know if something that works or doesn't work if you don't try. So we're constantly trying things. We just did a 5K called Running of the Bananas, kind of like Running of the Bulls, but we had over 500 people running in banana costumes, a 5K race. I can't imagine people down the street seeing 500 people in banana costumes. I was just hoping for a fun visual, and that's what happened. But we tried it, and we try new things every single day.
Wow. That's unique, I think, to say the least. We're quite impartial to a beer festival ourselves, Jesse. So this road trip is sounding more and more likely.
Yeah, we need to make it coincide with the 9 a.m. drinking.
I love it. We actually have our own Bananas beer too. We have two of our own. So we had a Savannah Banana beer. Now we have a Savannah Banana Mexican Cerveza beer. So we're trying new things every year with that stuff as well.
What's coming up for you guys? What's next on your agenda?
Well, I think that's the key. We're trying to figure out where we go next. Do we take the show on the road? Do we start coming out? Do we bring the Bananas to Scotland to have a game? Do we bring the Bananas to different places and have fun? So, we're at a capacity issue where we can't sell that many more tickets because of the way our stadium is. So, I don't know. Our big goal is make baseball fun and create the best fan experience in the world. So, we'll see. How do we take it to the next step? We're still working on that.
I think it'd be a real eye opener for people in Scotland to see this. I mean, football's not generally got an awful lot going on in the stadium other than the match itself. You get a little bit of halftime entertainment, but not too much before kick-off, nothing after in most football stadiums. Other sports in Scotland do a little bit better job of that. Ice hockey in particular has got more going on, but nothing on the scale that you're suggesting there. And I think for people in Scotland, if they could see the types of things that happen that you're describing at Savannah Bananas, their eyes would really be open. It'd be amazing. And even just that whole idea you have of just all about entertainment. Don't worry about the baseball, worry about the entertainment, and everything else follows. I think that would be a real sort of refreshing sort of shift for people to see. So if you do a world tour, definitely bring a game or two to Scotland, because
we'll come back on the show and promote the world tour. How's that?
Yeah, perfect.
Please do. A couple of last questions for you, Jessica, because I know you'll have other stuff to do, but. I wondered what your kind of inspirations were, or who your inspirations were, rather, in terms of your ethos and what you've brought to baseball.
I have 3 custom posters that I made inside my office here at the stadium. The first one is of Walt Disney, and it says "Vision," and the quote, "It's kind of fun to do the impossible." Number 2 is a poster of Bill Veeck, who you and the listeners may not be familiar with. He was one of the most famous baseball owners back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and he did crazy things like deliver 12 live lobsters to a fan during a game. He let his fans manage a game, like to decide whether the team was going to steal and hit and run. He was so innovative, it was brilliant. And on his poster it says, "Innovative. I don't break the rules, but I merely test their elasticity," and which I love because I'm constantly trying to break the rules. And the final one, P.T. Barnum, and it says, "Showmanship. Something terrible happens without promotion. Nothing." And those 3 have really impacted me, how I look at what we're doing, and thinking big like Walt Disney, thinking a little crazy like Bill Veeck, and never stop promoting and being a showman like P.T. Barnum.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jesse. That's been a really fascinating conversation.
No, I appreciate it. Love what you guys are doing.
So that was Jesse. Fantastic conversation, really entertaining, and really thought-provoking as well. What it leaves me thinking is, could this happen in Scotland? I think of examples around Scotland when even simple things like cheerleaders have been tried at Scottish football games, and people kind of seem to dismiss it or get frustrated or annoyed or angry that it's not traditional Scottish football, and they just want to sit with their mates chatting at half-time, eating their pie, drinking their bovril, and not want to do anything differently. But you can hear in what Jesse says there the success this has had. Just entertain first, and everything else follows. And they won championships on the back of not really thinking about the baseball, but thinking about the fan experience. So I don't know about you, Andrew, but I wonder if this could work anywhere in Scotland, or if a version of this could work in Scotland.
Yeah, I suppose the cheerleaders thing is an interesting point. I mean, I know what I realise is the irony of what I'm about to say is that's a very American thing, isn't it? having cheerleaders at a match. So, but what I quite like about what Jesse's talking about is he's not taking themselves too seriously. So they've got the Savannah Bananas, they're poking fun at themselves, which I think that would work in that kind of approach would work. And I'm not saying dancing nans, that kind
of tongue in cheek, poking fun at yourself, version of entertainment.
I'm not saying having that at the Tony Macaroni Stadium is gonna bring all the punters in, but that kind of self-deprecating, self-humorous approach to it might work better. And I think something that you've mentioned in the past is a club perhaps that hasn't got as much tradition or as much history. It might work better. Yeah,
I think so. I think that's a real. It'd be interesting to find a new club that's willing to give this a go. I mean, I think what can you lose by trying something like that out? The worst case scenario, you might annoy people a little bit for a little while. But then if it doesn't work, it will return to normal for them, and they'll be okay again. But there's probably also a little bit, and when we were talking to Jesse before we started recording, he asked us about the matchday experience in Scotland at football matches, and I was kind of saying to him that Scottish football fans seem to model themselves on Waldorf and Stadler and Waldorf from the Muppets. But could you get Gonzo and Animal and Kermit the Frog instead? Could we take that approach instead? So maybe people might be up for it if we caught them at the right time. And maybe when it's not so much of that sort of habitual, I've been coming here for 30 years, I always sit in the same seat and I always order my bovril and eat my pie and I don't want anything to change. If you had a circumstance at a football club where that wasn't quite so prevalent, you might have a chance of doing some of this stuff.
And one of the things Jesse said there was he kind of started this whole angle of what is that people in America don't like about baseball. Well, the games are too long and it's quite boring. And that was his starting point. So what's not working? Yeah. And we could probably do that with Scottish football. What isn't working about Scottish football and build on it from there. Yeah. I would be very interested to see, but also equally happily to take a road trip to America to find out.
Well, I think we do need to check in more detail just whether that works or not and whether it's really a good idea to start drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Well, these things can only really be tested if done in practice.
I don't fully believe in just hearing the story.
No.
Let's try it out and report back.
Well, thank you very much for listening to this week's episode. Hopefully there's something there, which, however you're involved in football, to take away, even if it's an idea for how you think the match day experience could be better at your club. Yeah,
and write to us and tell us if you think this could work at your club, if you want us to put you in touch with Jesse, or if you want to talk about how to put some of these ideas into practice, let us know.
So if you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at behindthegoals@hotmail.com. Equally, you can get us on Twitter at sup, which is SUPP Direct Scott. And if you want to, recommend you go and follow Savannah Bananas on Twitter. You could just search Savannah Bananas, and I don't think there'll be too many accounts called Savannah Bananas. But also recommend you follow Jesse Cole as well, who we've just speaking to there, and his handle is at Yellow Tux Jesse, but that's Tux TUX Jesse with 2 S's. I recommend you check that out.
And get onto Amazon and order Find Your Yellow Tux to see how you can do it yourself.
Absolutely.
Behind the Goals is a Supporters Direct Scotland podcast. You can get in touch with the show by emailing behindthegoals@hotmail.com, or you can also tweet the show at SupDirectScott. That's SUPP Direct Scott.